APIs. You've probably heard that term thrown around, and maybe you just kind of files it away as something for the tech folks. But what if I told you they're the invisible engine behind pretty much every modern business? And what if I told you they're about to become the native language of AI itself? Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain, demystify APIs, and show you how to get ready for what's coming next. So here's our game plan. We're going to start with a super simple analogy, the API as a digital waiter, just to get us all on the same page. Then we'll look at the very real, very high costs when those waiters start running wild. After that, we'll talk strategy, how to bring order to that chaos. And we'll wrap up by looking at the future, getting our systems ready for their newest customers, AI agents. All right, let's jump right into Section 1, the digital waiter. If that acronym API has always felt a little fuzzy or abstract, I promise this next bit is going to make it click for you, probably for good. Okay, so here's the formal textbook definition. It talks about managing connections in a multi-cloud setting, which honestly isn't all that helpful, is it? It doesn't really tell you what it is. So let's just forget that for a second and use a much, much better analogy. I want you to picture this. Think of any app or service you use, your weather app, your bank, whatever, as the kitchen of a really busy restaurant. Back there, behind the scenes, it's this incredibly complex operation, right? You've got data, codes, servers, all the stuff that you, as the customer, really shouldn't have to worry about. So how do you talk to this kitchen? Well, you use the menu. The menu is basically the API definition. It tells you exactly what the kitchen is offering, what you can order, but it doesn't waste your time with the messy details of how the chef is actually going to cook your food. And that brings us to the hero of our story. The waiter is the API. It's that simple. You tell the waiter what you want. That's your request. They take that request back to the complex kitchen, and a few minutes later, they bring back exactly what you asked for. That's the response. That's all an API is. It's just a messenger. So that waiter analogy, it's perfect when you're thinking about just one API. But now, imagine a restaurant with 1,000 waiters. And as the subtitle says, every single one of them has a different notepad, a different ordering system, a different way of talking to the kitchen. It would be absolute chaos. Well, that's the reality inside a lot of big companies today. In that chaos, it has a very real, very painful price tag. Get this. Postman found that a company with about 200 engineers wastes, on average, $1.3 million every single year, just from messy, fragmented tools and people rebuilding the same thing over and over again. That's a staggering amount of waste. And you know what? That 1.3 million is just the stuff that's easy to count. The real damage, the stuff that keeps executives up at night, is all this. It means your new products launch slower. It means you have huge security and compliance risks. You're wasting money on software you don't need. And you're basically opening up a bigger and bigger door for hackers to walk through. This is way more than a coding problem. It's a massive business problem. Which leads us right into Section 3, taming the API sprawl. So we've established it's a mess. The question is, how do we clean it up? The answer is a specific discipline called API management. It's about bringing some much-needed order to all this chaos. A really solid API management strategy has 4 key pieces. First up is the API gateway. Just think of this as the restaurant's mitra day. It's the single front door that manages the flow of all the orders. Next is the developer portal. This is like a perfectly organized master menu, a single place where developers can see everything the kitchen can possibly make. Third, the lifecycle manager. This is your head chef, making sure every new dish is created, tested, and eventually retired, the exact same way every time. And finally, you've got analytics. This tells the restaurant owner which dishes are a hit and which ones are duds so they can make smarter business decisions. Okay, let's move on to Section 4, from chaos to optimization. Because look, just managing your APIs is one thing, but turning them into a genuine strategic advantage, that's the next level. And to get there, you're going to need a roadmap. And this, right here, is an amazing roadmap. It's Gartner's API strategy maturity model. And it's so powerful because it lets a company see exactly where they are across 5 critical areas. Take API security, for example. You might be at level 1 with basically no rules at all. The goal is to move up to level 3, where you have core standards, and then all the way to level 5, where you have predictive security that actually anticipates threats before they happen. Or look at developer enablement. It goes from no support at all to fully automated self-service, and eventually, even AI helping your consumers. The goal for any organization is to move from left to right, from level 1, which is pure chaos, to level 5, optimizing, where your APIs are this highly automated value-creating machine.
So just take a second and look at this grid, and be honest with yourself. Thinking about your organization, where do you think you land? Are you mostly hanging out in those first couple of columns, initial and developing, or are you pushing towards managed and optimizing? It's a really important question, because your answer pretty much determines how ready you are for everything that's coming next.
And that brings us to our final and maybe most important section, APIs for AI agents. See, up until now, we've been talking about APIs that were built for human developers to use. But the primary consumer of our APIs is about to radically, fundamentally change. This is the moment everything pivots. Gartner predicts that by 2028, which is not that far away, a full 50% of all API usage will not involve a human developer at all. It's just going to be machines, AI agents, calling other machines to get things done. This changes everything. This slide just spells it out perfectly. A human developer is, well, they're forgiving. They can use their intuition. They can work around messy or incomplete documentation. An AI agent? Not so much. It is not forgiving. It needs perfectly structured, perfectly predictable, machine-readable information. It can't guess. It can't troubleshoot. If something is inconsistent, it just stops and fails. We have to start building for this new, incredibly literal customer. So how do we get ready for that? Well, it really boils down to these 4 key actions. First, you have to standardize all your documentation so a machine can read it perfectly. Second, you unify your tools, design, testing, docs into one single source of truth. Third, you govern by building your quality and security rules right into the workflow from the start. And finally, you make everything discoverable by creating a central, searchable catalog for all of your APIs. So here's the bottom line. Our APIs are quickly becoming the literal instructions for how intelligent action happens in the world. They're the language our AI agents are going to use to do their jobs. And the one question we all have to ask ourselves is this: are our APIs speaking the right language for that future?